The Sixers finally made a signing here on day one of NBA free agency as, according to Shams Charania, free agent forward Trendon Watford has agreed to a 2-year, $5.3 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. Shams said Watford is set to play a potential key role in the Sixers rotation. Now, before we dive into the player and what this might mean for the future of some Sixers free agents, just a reminder to hit that sub button here on the channel. Anytime the Sixers make a move, especially here in free agency and a signing like this, we talk about it no matter where I am, no matter when it is. I always get you guys the content. So hit that sub button, turn on your notifications. So let's get into the player here with Trendon Watford. He was undrafted in 2021, UDFA out of LSU, spent the first couple of years of his career with the Portland Trailblazers, has spent the last 2 seasons with the Brooklyn Nets, now coming over to the Philadelphia 76ers. And he's a pretty interesting player with an interesting build and skill set for his position. So he's 6'8", with a 7'2" wingspan, 237 pounds. Now, he can be a bit of a tweener, but he also has that positional flexibility, has split a lot of time between playing the 4 and playing the 5, both for Portland and for Brooklyn. So you kind of feel comfortable with him in either of those 2 roles. And that's a position the Sixers really did need to fill heading into free agency. We talked about it throughout the entire live show today when we were covering the start of NBA free agency, was the Sixers really needed another forward/center hybrid in the roster, and Watford can fill that role. But he's an interesting skill set, right? Because the best way to describe him is kind of a energy big with a handle. He's one of these wings who's not a true wing, not a true big, but he's got some skill to him, right? He can handle the ball a little bit. The offense is certainly intriguing. So his rookie year with Portland averages just over 7 points a game, 4 rebounds, 53% from the field, just 23 from 3. But the next couple of years, his last year with Portland, over 7 points, shot 56% from the field, 39% from 3. His first year in Brooklyn, 6.9 points, 52% from the field, 39.7% from 3. Now, granted, it's not on high volume, only a couple of 3-point attempts per game, but, still knocking them down at a solid rate. And this past season for the Nets, his best from a statistical counting standpoint, 10.2 points, 3.6 rebounds. Efficiency, though, did take a dip, 46.9% from the field, and just 33% from 3. So when you talk about his offense, right, and where that skill set sort of comes from, is a low-volume shooter who, in those 2 seasons, did appear to be able to knock down the 3 at a decent rate, but the shot is just pretty slow and doesn't look all that great. So it's not something you're really banking on him being this high-volume, high-level 3-point shooter. It's an aspect of his game that's certainly there, and he'll hit them from time to time, but not something you're really banking on. Now, where things do get interesting with him, though, is with the ball in his hands. At that size, again, 6'8", 7'2", wingspan, 237 pounds, he's pretty skilled as a ball handler. He can run the pick and roll as the pick and roll ball handler. He can make smart passes off of those reads. Not an elite level, and you're not asking him to do that every single time down the floor, but he does have that skill set in his bag, and he can take people off the dribble a little bit. If they're smaller than him, he can overpower them. If they're bigger, he can use that quickness, use that handle to get by guys. Again, not at an elite level, but at a solid level for a player who you're paying $5.3 million over 2 years. He's shown a good floater in between game, and he does really excel in the fast break, pulling down a rebound, getting out, running in transition. Now, of course, none of those things he does at a truly elite level, right? I know with some of the things I'm saying, you might be like, why does this guy only get paid $5.3 million over 2 seasons? Well, again, nothing really at an elite level, and the lack of a shot, certainly a little bit concerning with the percentage dip, which really dipped this past season, and the way that the jump shot looks. Also very concerning on the defensive end of the floor. And that's where you think about a signing like this, a guy who you're not paying to be a starter, right? You're kind of paying him to come off the bench and play a certain role. It's going to be some things that aren't always, 100% perfect, what you would like to see in a player. So the defense, definitely a concern compared with the low volume 3-point shooting, and the results just really haven't always been there. but I think he can fit well in a role with this team. Now, what does this mean for Guerschon Yabusele? Because we've been talking really the past few weeks or so about how the Sixers can re-sign Quentin Grimes and maybe also keep Guerschon Yabusele. Because Yabusele, unrestricted free agent, Sixers don't have his bird rights, they would have to use the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is up to $5 million, to bring him back. That's going to be what they're using here to sign Trendon Watford. They're going to be using part of that to sign him to this 2-year, $5.3 million deal, which tells me Guerschon Yabusele is all but gone. And look, this was expected, right? We knew it was going to be difficult for the Sixers to keep Guerschon because he was going to have to take a discount at about $5 million if he did want to stay. And even then it was a stretch depending on how much money you have to pay Quentin Grimes. So we'll get to here in a second. So this really does all but tell me that Guerschon Yabusele will be moving on to his next team. What team could that be? Not so sure. The Spurs showed some interest earlier on. They did sign Luke Cornett today, so we'll see if there's still players there. I know, there's just going around on Twitter that Yabusele did buy a new house in Philadelphia. How true that is, I'm not so sure. It seems like it is pretty reliable information, but there's pretty much no way they can sign him now at this point. It seems like he is all but gone, which is unfortunate because I really would have liked to see Guerschon Yabusele play some meaningful minutes for the 76ers team. Bringing him over from France, his return to the NBA. He was one of the Sixers' most consistent players from start to finish all season long. About 10 points, 5.5 rebounds, shot almost 40% from three. But of course, really a waste of a season for the 76ers. And he's a player I think would really excel in a playoff format on a playoff team in those big moments, right? And unfortunately, never got to see that here in Philadelphia. I think he would love to remain in Philadelphia. The Sixers would love to have him. This isn't about them wanting to move on or him wanting to move on. It's just the financial realities of the NBA world that we live in, right? He was never going to get paid $2.7 million like you're paying Trendon Watford. It was just not going to happen. So unfortunately, does seem like he's going to be gone. But Trendon Watford, an intriguing player, someone that I think will get some rotation minutes for Philadelphia, even if, of course, he does come with some downsides. Unfortunately, probably saying goodbye to Guerschon Yabusele. Real quick, want to hit on Quentin Grimes because as of this recording on Monday night, Grimes still has not signed with the 76ers, and the money's kind of starting to dry up in free agency. We saw teams like the Nets make some additions, bringing in Michael Porter Jr., trading away Cam Johnson. They took on some additional money for that deal. The Pistons bringing in a Karis LeVert. So some of these teams that had some money now don't have as much money as they previously had to maybe offer Grimes a big deal. So at this point, it kind of seems like the Sixers are almost betting against themselves when it comes to a Quentin Grimes contract. It was reported that he was looking for $25+ million. I don't think he gets that. I think the Sixers are going to maybe play the waiting game here and see if another team offers Grimes a big deal. And if there isn't a team to offer him a whole lot of money, try to get him for under $20 million. Now, there's always a chance Grimes doesn't want to take a deal less than what he feels he is worth, and he plays out this season on the qualifying offer at about $8 and some change million, and then enters next offseason as an unrestricted free agent. There is that possibility. I don't think we'll end up getting to that, but if Grimes really doesn't want to take somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 million, he could bet on himself per se and try to get a larger deal in the next offseason. But as of right now, no deal for Grimes, and we could see it drag out a couple of days, although I think the longer it goes, the worse it is for Grimes because less and less teams have money to throw at him to force the Sixers' hand and make them match a big deal because, again, he is a restricted free agent. So that is where we're at right now with all the latest Sixers news. Trendon Watford, the newest member of the Philadelphia 76ers, 2 years, $5.3 million. Probably saying goodbye to Guerschon Yabusele and Quentin Grimes still without a deal as we wrap up day one. Once again, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Any more moves the Sixers make, we will have you covered right here on 76ers Now. So hit that sub button and be sure to join us. We'll be live again for day two of 2025 NBA free agency. Hit that sub button, lock us in, and we'll see you next time here on the show.